Alrighty, good morning everyone. We're going to get started with our live CS Academy student team Q&A session here in about 2 minutes. So 2 minutes. Alrighty, good morning everyone and welcome to the third day of our live Q&A sessions with student team members here at CMU. So before we get started, I just want to set some ground rules. We'd like it if all classroom teachers that are watching the video post some questions from their students in the chat. These questions should be around what it's like being a student at CMU or why you are involved in the CS Academy project, things relating to computer science or STEM related fields, things of that nature. We also have a few questions of our own that we'll be going through, but before we get started, we're just gonna all introduce ourselves. So I am Erin Colley, I am the program manager of CMU CS Academy, and I will be moderating the chat today with our student team members. Karen, why don't you start first?
Hi guys, I'm Karen. I'm a sophomore at CMU. My major is cognitive science and I'm minoring in computer science. I started working at CS Academy this past summer, and right now I'm part of the outreach team.
Awesome, thanks. Maya?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Maya. I'm a junior at CMU majoring in math. And I've been on the team for about almost a year now. And I work on the content creation team. And I'm from Bangalore, India.
Awesome, thanks Maya. And Janet?
Hi all, I'm Janet. I'm a junior studying design at CMU. I started on the project about 1.5 years ago, working on the UX design team, and more recently working on the content creation team along with Maya, and I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Awesome, thank you all so much. So to get started today, we're just gonna dive into a couple questions. So what is your favorite part about working on the CS Academy team? Or what's the most rewarding part?
Yeah, I could go first. I guess one of the most rewarding aspects for me is just the fact that, I'm like using my skills to create something that students all across the US and also all across the world can like access. And that's just very cool that I can like put something on a website and like multiple students can use it. And that's super exciting. I mean, I also think for me, one of the biggest aspects that I've really enjoyed, like from a more learning perspective, is just trying to be a lot more creative, especially in content creation. I think that that's something that's super important. And also, I love the graphics-based stuff, which is very cool to me.
Awesome, thanks, Maya. Karen, you wanna share?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, probably the most rewarding part is running the teacher PD sessions. I don't know, I feel like it's very rewarding to be able to teach the teachers how to use our platform, how to do computer science, and I think the most rewarding moment is when like a teacher finally understands something that you've been explaining, and that's just like such a great moment to experience.
Thanks, Karen. Janet?
Similar to Maya, I think the biggest rewarding factor for me working on CS Academy is being able to apply what I'm learning in school and see it actually have an impact and see it actually actualize on a website. It's super cool to see as a student to be able to contribute to such an important project.
Awesome. Thanks everyone so much. So the next thing I'm going to jump to is more about your life here at CMU. So what is your favorite class that you've taken at CMU and why?
Yeah, for sure. For me, I would say it's probably 112. I feel like that's a pretty, I don't know, a pretty widespread answer. It's just that I came into college without any CS knowledge. I mean, that was the first ever computer science class that I took, and it was an intro to Python course. And I initially really struggled with it. And for like the first 3 weeks, I was like, what is going on? This is so confusing. Nothing makes sense. But I'm a math major, so I had a math background. So I tried to like bring my math problem solving skills into computer science and use that to solve problems. So then the class just became really fun for me. And that class was kind of what basically set the tone for me for like the rest of my time at CMU in terms of taking CS classes. So yeah, it was kind of like a turning point.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Janet?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, similar to my favorite course I've taken at CMU is 110, which is another intro to Python course intended for non-CS majors. And that was also my turning point in terms of wanting to, pursue some more CS education during my time here as a design student. And it also is what kind of introduced me to the co-founder of the project, which ended up getting me onto this project. And it was very interesting because I was very reluctant to take 110 at first because I had taken a bit of computer science in high school and I thought really this isn't for me. But we did a similar graphic style programming and that way of learning through 110. And that really got me interested in CS Academy because I thought, what I was learning in high school, which was a lot of this text-based editor stuff that didn't really seem interesting, and I couldn't see an application of like why I was learning about a list. Suddenly I was creating these like fun games with like this interface, and that really excited me, and that's what kind of got me into CS Academy and a whole lot of other things. And so that course really stands out as something that has changed my time at CMU.
I'm really between two courses, honestly, but one is for sure 112, which is the one that Maya mentioned, the Introduction to Programming course. And then I would say the other was actually Cognitive Psychology. So I guess those two classes make sense with my major, which is a really like interdisciplinary mix of psychology and computer science. But yeah, those were definitely the two that I most enjoyed.
Awesome. Thank you. The next thing I wanted to ask is why did you choose to go to CMU and what is a day of your life at CMU like? And you could say pre-COVID and now.
Yeah, in terms of why I chose to go to CMU, I think for me, when I was in like the later years of my high school, I really wanted to go into STEM and like stick with science. And I went to high school in India and the system was a little bit different. But we basically like choose a stream in the last 2 years of high school in terms of what we want to do. And I was in science, so I took like physics and math and stuff. And I was like, okay, I know that I want to do something with this in college, but I don't know what. And I came in as a math major and like I definitely did love math and I was like, okay, I don't know, this could be the, my major for the rest of my time at CMU, but that not being completely sure, I think is what pushed me towards CMU, just because there's like such a wide range of like the stuff that you can do, even in terms of like humanities and stuff like that, which is super cool. And I think CMU has just like a lot of emphasis on this whole interdisciplinary aspect, which is something that's super exciting. There's a lot of emphasis on like research as well, especially in the computer science department. And I knew that I probably wanted to try out computer science a little bit. So yeah, that was, I think, what pushed me towards CMU. And in terms of a day in my life, I guess like every college student, it starts with lectures, sometimes in the morning, sometimes they start in the afternoon, which is great. And that's like the morning, the beginning chunk of my day. And then it kind of goes into like team meetings. For example, we have like a CS Academy meeting. And then, usually just some homework and work in the evening. And then I usually have a cappella practice in the night. So like 9 to 12. and that was pre-COVID. And now I'm back home, and I'm in a very different time zone. So it's a little bit. I'm like watching online lectures in the night, which is fun. But yeah, it's obviously changed a lot, and I miss the social aspect, I guess. But it's been interesting, and I think we're adjusting to it.
Thanks, Maya. Karen, you want to share?
Yeah, so let's see, reasons why I picked CMU. First, definitely the academic program. So I did a lot of research into the cognitive science program here, and CMU is really strong in kind of all the components that make up cognitive science, like computer science and psychology. So that was a really big thing. I guess another thing that interested me is kind of the culture of CMU, because I feel like there's a lot of like really smart, like technical STEM type of people here, and there's also a lot of like really amazing theater people and like performing arts people. And so that really cool mix of like technical fields with performing arts really fit me, because I'm a dancer, I've done theater, and I was really just like drawn to that. And then the last thing is I'm from New Mexico, so I knew I would be going pretty far away for college. Everywhere I applied to was really far from New Mexico. And so Pittsburgh had like a draw to it, because I was actually born in Pittsburgh. So I was really familiar with like the area, and it made me feel a lot more comfortable coming here, like compared to other places. So that's why I chose CMU. I guess day in my life before COVID was probably go to my classes, study a lot, and then sometimes go to dinner with friends or go to like an exercise class with friends. And then I'd also have dance classes. And then since COVID, it's kind of switched around. I'm back in New Mexico, so my day starts a lot earlier. Some days I have classes that start at 6 in the morning. And then I'm just kind of on Zoom like all day long doing classes, doing homework. And then I actually, let's see, I've had a lot of social events going on also over Zoom, which is really nice. So I like connect with friends and keep that going.
Cool. Thanks, Karen. And Janet?
I guess similar to what Maya and Karen have touched on about why I chose CMU. I think the interdisciplinary aspect was like a big driving factor for me, because I knew I wanted to study design, but I also knew that I would want to take electives in like STEM fields and computer science and engineering. And the school really, because it's so strong in so many different like aspects, not only like the arts and design and theater and like STEM, but because it was so strong everywhere, I felt like it gave me the opportunity to explore as much as I wanted, which was super, super good for me. That's for a day in the life. I think the lives that Maya and Karen described pre-COVID is pretty similar to mine. A lot of lectures, a lot of studying, a lot of meetings. I guess the different thing for me post-COVID is I'm still doing in-person classes. So my schedule in some ways is kind of similar. I get up and I do like my Zoom lectures, and then I'll usually go to my like one in-person class that day, and then I'll come home and I'll do meetings from Zoom.
Cool, thanks. And what is it like to be a female in STEM at CMU?
I can go first. It's honestly been very cool and very amazing. I think I came from a super small high school. And even though our like class ratio itself was more girls to guys in STEM and science specifically, there was a pretty there were pretty few women to men. And I think coming to CMU and just immediately seeing like my in my freshman year, a lot of my math TAs were women, which was very cool for me, because I was kind of like, okay, that's like my role model. Wow, that's so amazing. So I think that representation has been really good. And CMU's CS class, I think right now is like 50-50. It's like 50% of undergrad are women, which is like very cool. And you kind of see that, I guess, when you like go on campus. I don't think I've ever really felt like I'm like the only girl in the room, or like the only girl taking a class, and that's nice, I guess, because you kind of feel like you have, you know, people around you who've had like similar experiences, and it's just nice to like, you know, communicate and just have that representation, I guess. So it's very it's been pretty good at CMU specifically, and it's been a nice refreshing change from high school.
Thanks, Maya. Karen, do you want to share anything?
I feel like Maya did a very good job covering it, but yeah, so I'm, like I said, I'm in an interdisciplinary major, but I guess like for sure the kind of STEM classes that I've been most involved in are definitely computer science. And yeah, I've had a really similar experience with it being like 50-50 girls and boys. Like, I don't know, I just like haven't felt at all out of place. I felt very welcomed in it and very like respected in doing that. And it's just, yeah, it's really nice.
Cool. Thanks, Karen. And Janet, did you want to add anything?
I don't really have much to add other than I think a big thing that Maya also touched on, because Maya did a good response to that question, is that seeing female and non-binary people represented in like your TA roles and your professor roles have been like really important for me, because it gives really someone that I can look up to and say that clearly someone is similar to me and is like being represented in this field, and that's super nice to have at CMU.
Awesome, thanks. So the next thing is a little bit of a shift. Why is learning computer science important, especially if you don't want to be a programmer?
Cool, I can start. Well, I feel like at this point, just kind of where the world is headed, just in terms of the fact that you know, everything is pretty data driven, everything is pretty techy. It's just nice to, I guess, you know, dabble in computer science a little bit, even if you don't think that that's like the be all end all for you, and that's it, and that's what you want to do with your life. Because for me, I mean, even though like I'm a math major and I do take like a significant amount of computer science classes, I'm not like a CS major. And I've just done a lot of CS classes because I find it interesting, and I feel like it is computer science is becoming like more and more relevant. So it's really nice to just have like a little bit of background in coding and just like make cool things. And yeah, I feel like it's something it's for everyone, and I feel like anyone, even if you don't feel like you're going to do that for the rest of your life, it's just a cool skill to have, I'd say.
Thanks, Maya. Janet or Karen, do you want to share?
I can go. So as Maya said, like computer science pretty much goes with any field that you could possibly want to go into. And I know a lot of people told me that in high school, and I was kind of like, nah, I don't really believe that. Like, I don't see how computer science goes with these things. But I think especially since coming to college, I've really seen how that's true. Like, I think one of the things that most surprised me was that computer science is part of like history and English. And those were things I just like never imagined it working with. But I actually like my first year or my first semester at college, I made a project where I was like analyzing the counts of different words in Harry Potter. And so like it just is so applicable to anything. And then something I thought was really neat that Austin was actually talking about in my last Q&A session was how computer science, regardless of whether you use it in your future career, is really great for developing problem-solving skills, because it teaches you how to break down a problem, think about it in parts, and come to a solution. And that type of skill is valuable to anything you'll be doing in the future.
Thanks, Karen. Janet, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about, I guess, CS application to design, because I think that's the thing I know the most about. But to me, like computer science is, especially programming, is a tool, and it's a tool like where you can quickly make things. We use surprisingly in design, we use like electronics and like Arduino to like make prototypes, and that kind of computer science element in that you have this idea and you want to make it. How do I quickly make it so that I can express my ideas is super important as an application.
Awesome. Thanks, Janet. And yeah, the only thing that I'll add is uh, having just a little bit of programming skills opens your eyes to so many different ways that you can apply it. So regardless of what it is that you're interested in, if it's Harry Potter or design, you're able to make an impact on that thing that you're interested in. And I think that's the most valuable reason to want to learn to code. It's not that everyone needs to become the next greatest computer scientist. It's that you're passionate about medicine, and because you have this programming background, you're able to create things for medicine, or whatever field it is that you're interested in. Yeah, cool. Well, thank you. Moving on to our next question. We thought it would be nice if you all could talk a little bit about some of your favorite projects that either you've created or are currently working on now.
For me, I guess one of the most like fun projects that I've worked on is definitely a project that I did as part of a course at CMU, as part of 112 actually. And it was like a game. I made like a side scroller game where you had like a rocket ship flying through space. And then I had like wormholes and stuff like that, and you could like enter the wormhole and like be in another part of the universe, which is pretty cool. And I use like, and I mean, I haven't really like done a lot in physics since I came to college, but like I used to be super into physics and stuff like that when I was in high school. So I tried to use a lot of like, and I've always been like super fascinated by like space and stuff like that. So I tried to use like a lot of my kind of knowledge from that and try to like make it into a game. I'm using Python, which is really fun. And I feel like that kind of opened my eyes to the more like creative aspect of coding, which is another reason why I was like, okay, CS Academy, making graphics based exercises, like that's very cool, because it's like a more creative way of thinking about like just like plain code, right? So yeah, so I think that's been like one of my favorite, I guess. And then another one that I've worked on as part of an internship has been basically this NLP, natural language processing project, where I basically created this web platform that kind of extracts entities from resumes and stuff like that. And that for me was like the first, I guess, real world application of computer science that I saw, because I got to like be in an internship, work on the web platform, work on the back end. Yeah, and that was pretty nice. So yeah.
Cool, thanks, Maya. Janet, would you share?
Sure. I can talk a little bit about a personal project I worked on over the summer. I coded my own design portfolio this summer, which was a super fun experience, learning how to like do that kind of stuff. I think at the end of like freshman year, after I'd taken 110, which was taught in Python, I was like really bummed that I didn't take like a JavaScript course, because I came to this realization that like all the designers doing like web dev stuff were like writing in JavaScript. And I was like, well, I didn't learn that, and now I can't do this. But then as I started like looking through some of the libraries and documentations, I realized, wow, these languages are really quite similar. And what 110 and what these courses actually taught me wasn't about like how to write Python or how to write this correct syntax. It was more about how to think about code, how to like think about my problem, and then how to like write these basic structures like if statements, and how to think about conditionals. And so I was actually able to learn for myself without a course, which I thought I needed, how to do a bit of web dev. And so I made a portfolio website, and it was a great kind of experience seeing these two sides that I've been learning and working on, like my design side and my computer science side, come together through a project.
Awesome, thanks, Janet. And Karen?
So my project that I'm thinking of, I also did for 112 for my like final project. And basically what I made was like a meal planning app. And the reason I did this was because at home, my job was to like make the meal plan for my family. So I'd literally have to sit down and like figure out what we were going to be eating every day for the whole month. And I was like, this is really annoying. Why can't a computer do this for me? So that's what I coded. And basically what it does is it like you can type in the name of a recipe, you can type in all the ingredients, and it'll generate a calendar for you. that'll like follow certain restrictions. So it'll put like hard recipes on weekends. It'll put like, it'll make sure you don't have 2 chicken dishes, for example, like in a row, because that would be too much chicken. And then it also generates a shopping list for you automatically of all the things you need to buy every week. So that's what I made. And it's a cool thing about that is it's really fun to like make something that actually helps your life and makes it easier. So
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Cool. So let's hear a little bit more about where do you see yourself in 5 years? So post-college, what are your goals?
Ooh, okay. This is a tough one. Well, I mean, I'm a junior right now, so I definitely have like a little bit more time to, I guess, kind of think about what I want to do after college. But as of now, because of the computer science background that I have, I do see myself kind of going into the industry as a software engineer or as a software developer, because I do feel like my math problem solving skills, that I feel like that's kind of like a more real world and like impactful application of those skills is through computer science. So I think that that's very nice because it's not like unrelated to my major. It is like related to my major, but it's more of like an application based thing. So yeah, that's where I see myself. I guess working as a software engineer, and yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Thanks, Maya.
I can go maybe. I guess for me, I'm definitely planning to go to graduate school. So that's going to take a solid number of those 5 years because I'm only a sophomore. But once I'm done with that, I'm not entirely sure like what I want my work to be, but I'm really interested in kind of artificial intelligence, and like it really relates to my major, that intersection of cognitive psychology and computer science. So maybe something research based, maybe something related to that for when I start working.
Cool. Thanks, Karen. And Janet?
Yeah, I guess I don't really have many 5-year out plans. Being a junior, I still think that I have a bit more time, which maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I think I'll probably be working in the design industry, doing something with design. I know from working on CS Academy, I've learned how much educational technology and how important that is to me. And so I would like to continue being involved in some way, even if it's not like working at an educational technology firm or like a place that makes educational technology. Somehow keeping, I guess, staying involved in that kind of space is important for me.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. So moving on to a little bit more of a focus on advice and prep for college for our high school students. So what has been the most helpful activity that prepared you for college? Maybe that you participated in high school?
I don't know if I can think of like a specific activity, but for me, in terms of like going into college, I felt kind of like I felt like very confused when I was in my like junior year of high school. So I think the most helpful thing for me was actually like reaching out to my peers, especially my seniors in high school who had kind of gone and ventured into fields that like I was interested in. So if I knew anyone, and because my school was super small, I think that was pretty easy for me to kind of make that contact because I knew my seniors pretty well. And a lot of people who, and I talked to a lot of people who had kind of gone forward within engineering or CS or even just math. And just to get a better idea of what a math major would look like, because at that point I was like seriously considering math, but I was like, I don't really know what that looks like in college. Is it just calculus? Is it proofs? What is going to happen? So yeah, that was pretty helpful for me, I guess, just reaching out. And also just doing a lot of my own research before I like even decided where to apply. I almost spent like over 2 months just like doing a lot of research on colleges through the internet, through talking to people. And I made like this huge like spreadsheet with like everything that I liked about colleges and everything that I might not really like that much. And I think that like doing that research really helped me feel a lot more confident in my decision to go to CMU also, because I was like, okay, I have all the information. I've like thought about everything. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's necessary to be like super sure about what you want to do or where you want to go. But it's nice to just have that information and have that background. So yeah, I guess that was something that was super helpful for me.
Cool, thanks, Maya. Janet, do you want to share?
Sure. I think one of the most helpful things that helped me, one, prepare for college, and two, like help me decide on like what I wanted to do or reaffirm that was like going to summer programs. So I think sophomore summer and junior summer during high school, I went to two different summer programs. One was like for engineering and then one was for design. And I think they both helped me first understand like the complexities of like living on your own, which so freshman year, that was less of a shock because I was like, oh, I've done this before. And so that helped me familiarize myself with like that kind of context. And it also helped me like kind of realize or reaffirm that I wanted to do design, doing the engineering summer camp and not being super interested, but like having some amount of interest in it and then doing the design one and seeing that like this is what I want to do and I can see how I can apply the parts I liked from my engineering summer camp into design. And so those were the important factors.
Cool, thanks, Janet. And Karen?
So I think one thing for sure that really prepared me was just kind of the rigor of my high school experience. So I went to a very challenging high school. They gave a lot of homework. I took a lot of AP classes. I was involved in a lot of things outside of school. And I think all of that was really helpful for just getting used to kind of managing a lot of things at once, I guess, and like figuring out how to fit in all your homework as well as all the activities that you're doing. So that was really helpful for me. And then something else is that my school does something called senior projects, which means basically like for the very last month of your senior year of high school, you don't go to any classes. You just find like an internship somewhere or do a project. And what I did for that was I actually got an internship in California. And so I went like far away from home. I was living with a host family for a month, doing this internship in California. And that was really helpful for me to get used to like being by myself, kind of far away from my parents. And I think, yeah, so that was for me was like a very important experience to prepare for just being by myself and being at college.
Very cool. Thank you all. So what are some things that you wish you did in high school, both academic and non-academic?
Well, for me, I guess academically, I mean, I did like stick with the stream. I guess I did like go into science, but I was super interested in history and in the humanities, though I wasn't amazing at any of them. But I really do wish if I had had the opportunity that I would have kind of taken like a humanities class maybe in like the later stages of high school. And I think that that would have been super cool. And that's kind of out of like my own interest. In terms of like what would have benefited me for college, I definitely think doing a little bit of CS before I came into college would have been a pretty good, it would have been pretty nice at like bridging that divide, especially since I wanted to go into computer science, but my school didn't offer it. So I mean, obviously I think that there are a lot of resources online right now, even for high school students, CS Academy, and also through like Khan Academy and other resources where you can kind of just like figure things out on your own. And I do wish that I kind of done a little bit more of that and maybe worked on some like personal projects. And I think that that would have helped me a little bit just in terms of also I feel like when you do a personal project or you do an internship and stuff like that, you're kind of like taking responsibility of like some section of something and just having that like leadership experience going into college when you're kind of thrown into, a lot of things is pretty important. And it also does help you in the future, even after college. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Maya. Karen?
So I was a very shy person in high school. And so I guess both of mine kind of have to do with that. But academically, I would say I wish I'd gotten to know my professors or teachers a little bit better. They're very helpful when it comes to writing like recommendation letters for college. So it's good to build those relationships with your teachers. And also I feel like it's nice when you get to know them, they get to know you, and you can kind of build that personal connection. And I don't feel like I did that as much as I could have when I was in high school. And then non-academically, I had my little friend group and I like did everything with them. We were just always together. But I wish I'd kind of taken the time to make sure I was talking to other people and meeting more people and really like just expanding my social circle and building those connections, because I feel like that's really important, and it could have been really eye-opening to meet more people.
Very cool. Thanks, Karen. Janet?
I think I wish I had gotten involved in a wider range of extracurricular activities during high school. I did a lot of like art extracurriculars because I was into design. I did like chess club and the math team because I was like kind of STEM-ish person. But I really wish I had explored like other avenues of the clubs that my high school had offered. And I don't know why I keep thinking like I really wish I joined a sports team. Just something super different from like what I'm used to, just to like challenge myself and push myself to like meet new people, but also like try new things.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. And bouncing back to think a little more about CS Academy, what has been the most helpful activity that prepared you for working on the project?
Yeah, hi. I guess for me, honestly, I didn't really know. So when I was a freshman, I kind of like knew about the project, but I wasn't like sure if I, would really do well. And then I TA'd an intro to Python course at CMU, and I think that TA experience just really got me it got me super interested in kind of like getting in the heads of students, I guess, because I had to like work with a lot of students pretty closely, and I kind of got to see how different different problems and different approaches to computer science problems helped students differently, I guess. And I got to see like what works, what doesn't work. And then that's what got me super interested in CS Academy, because I was like, well, like I TA'd, but now it would be cool to actually write the stuff that students are doing rather than just like teaching it, like teaching something that's passed on to me. So yeah, I guess that's kind of something that prepared me for it, because I think that I had like a pretty good grasp of Python at the time. And I also, I also could kind of see things, I guess, from a more like learning perspective, which was very cool. So yeah, I guess that was like one of the definitive things that helped me when getting applying to CS Academy and stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Maya. Janet?
I guess this isn't like a really concrete thing that has helped me with CS Academy, but I think through my design courses, we put a large emphasis on like how to give critique and how to give good critique. And that's been surprisingly very helpful, not only in the design team or at CS Academy, but also in the content team, and being able to like actively reflect on a piece of work and say like, this is what I really like about it. This is what I like, where I think it's lacking, and this is how I may go about improving the things I feel like aren't doing so well, and saying that in a constructive way that helps people build upon their ideas rather than tearing it down or saying like, no, this is bad.
Cool. Thanks, Janet. And Karen?
So I guess there's two things that are kind of coming to the top of my head. But so one thing I've been doing a lot with CS Academy is teaching and running the teacher training sessions. So I feel like what prepared me a lot for that was that I've done a lot of work with children in the past. So for the previous 2 summers, I had actually worked at a summer camp teaching 5-year-olds, which was crazy but super fun, trying to manage 12 of them all at once. So I feel like that was really helpful in just learning to kind of be that person in charge of a classroom in a sense, and also explaining things in a clear way, because I feel like if you can explain things to a 5-year-old, you can explain things to anyone. And then the other one that I feel like prepared me well for CS Academy was I was part of my school newspaper in high school, and I was actually an editor for it for I think 2 of the years. So that was really helpful in kind of several things, but working with other people because I had a co-editor I was working with. I also was managing other people who were writing the articles. So just kind of those collaboration and leadership skills, I feel like really came from being part of that.
Cool. Thanks, Karen. And another thing I thought would be interesting for you all to talk about is what exactly it is that you do for the CS Academy project. So, we know that you're involved in content creation and teacher outreach and support and UX design, but if you could elaborate a little bit more on what like a week of working on the project is like for you, the types of things that you're doing, I think that would be interesting to hear about.
I'm on the content creation team. So I guess most of my responsibility is coming up with exercises that are on the platform, and writing the code for some of that. And in the past year, I think it's like been pretty consistent for me. Like a week kind of has looked pretty much the same. In terms of at the start of the week, we kind of are assigned tasks in terms of what areas we might have to make exercises for, or what modules we're kind of ideating for, and stuff like that. And then just based on that, around towards like the middle or the end of the week, once we kind of have like basic drafts up, we kind of have like a critique or something like that, with all the content team members. And we all just like, criticize, just critique each other's exercises, and we just talk about like what could be better. And then that just really helps us come up with like a final draft towards the end of the week. And then that, based on like testing and everything, then that like goes up on the site. So yeah, and I guess that's been my main role. And I think the biggest like challenge for me in that is just trying to come up with like very creative ways to phrase a lot of these CS concepts, because some of them can be a little bit hard to like find relations in the real world too. But then it's been interesting because I've kind of learned how to like have this cycle of like, okay, so if I'm trying to teach like for loops, like what about that is like useful, and like if like for example, a for loop like lets you draw multiple things maybe at once. So like what areas in like the real world, if I was trying to create an exercise that was like something related to nature, then like how could I exploit like this functionality on the canvas? So that's been pretty interesting. So yeah, I guess that's most of my work.
Awesome. Thanks, Maya. Karen, how about you share?
So my weeks, they kind of vary a lot. I feel like I do a lot of different types of tasks, but I guess definitely one of the big things is working on the like teacher training sessions that I mentioned before. So usually I guess like the week before a session happens, I'll meet with the other person who's on my team, and we'll like make this really big document describing all the things that we're going to talk about in the session, and just like planning ahead. And then we'll get organized. We'll like send out a link to all the teachers, and then we'll run the PD session, which basically means we'll just have a Zoom meeting with all the teachers that are coming, and then we'll teach them about a unit. We'll like walk them through some exercises, make sure they understand what's happening in that unit. So that's kind of the whole like teacher PD cycle that I'm working on. I'll also spend some time answering teacher support tickets. So when teachers are confused about something on the website, they'll submit a support ticket to the student team, and I'll work on answering those so they can get the questions answered. And then I've also done just like kind of several like miscellaneous sort of tasks, but like editing documents, preparing teacher-facing resources, working on making videos. I know this summer we were updating the videos that are on the CS Academy website, and I was recording the voice for those. So yeah.
Awesome, thanks. And Janet?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the design team. I think week to week changes depending on what we're working on, but Usually it's either we're in like a research phase where we go talk to teachers about some of the new features we're thinking about implementing and see how they react to them and how they interact with some of our prototypes. Or we're like going through like fresh text tickets and seeing like what is commonly requested. So that's the kind of like a research week. And then most weeks are more like prototyping, designing weeks where we'll each member of the team will kind of come up with their interpretation of like, this is the problem, what's the solution, or what's the interaction that like creates this solution. And then we'll come together and do critiques on each other's work, talk about what's working and what's not. And then through that process and multiple iterations, we'll arrive at something that we think might be a feature that solves the problem that we've identified through the research. And then from there, it's a process of talking to Aaron, as well as the web dev team, to talk about like feasibility and adjusting after that.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. So I think we're going to wrap up a little bit early today, but I have one final question, and that is, what is your favorite character or exercise from CS Academy?
I'm thinking, honestly, like Puffy is such a classic, and I feel like I just want to say Puffy because like that was when I like first joined the team, we had to like do the exercises ourselves, like just as like a training phase. And I remember like when I did Puffy, I was like, this is like such a cute exercise. Like it's like so simple. I mean, you just like click and like Puffy's belly grows, and that's just cute. So yeah, I would say Puffy. Pretty much a classic response.
Cool. Thanks, Maya. Janet?
I was actually also going to say Puffy, and I think you can see my bias towards Puffy if you see some of the illustrations, like the one with all the characters, and Puffy's like right in the center, you know, that's my bias, I guess, coming through in my work, but I'm a big fan of Puffy. Very cute, very good.
Yeah. Or the Twitter post about how many puppies would fit in a school bus and things like that. Yeah, we definitely are a big fan of that exercise around here. Karen, do you have another one?
I do. I actually really like the owl character. I think that one's very cute. And then for favorite exercise, as I said earlier, I am a Harry Potter fan, so I do enjoy the Expelliarmus exercise.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here. Classrooms that are joining us, thank you so much for joining. I am going to share my screen really briefly to show you all when our upcoming sessions are. We are going to continue to be running these all week. And here is that schedule. So feel free to screenshot that. It's pretty simple. Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 5:30 p.m. each day through till Friday this week. So thanks again. And it was great chatting. Bye.